Hi, this is Miss Litton, and this is my wonderfully smart period 4 class. Say hi.
Hi.
All right. This man right here, do you know his name?
Mendel.
His name is Mendel. He is known as the father of genetics. Exactly. Did he ever know, did somebody ever come up to him and say, "Homie, father"? Did he know he was the father of genetics? No. He died without any notoriety. He was a man who he was a monk. And what year? Look at your notes. What year was he around? Scan down through your notes. 1850. Okay? So he went to the University of Vienna. He studied math. He studied science. He was really good at statistics and analysis. And then he went on to be a monk. Where did monks live? In monasteries. And in his monastery, he had a garden. And his parents were gardeners and farmers then, staying alive farmers. And so he knew how to do that, and he worked with the pea plants primarily. And in his work, what he came up with 3 principles or laws. The law of dominance, the law of segregation, and the law of independent assortment. And these are the baseline for understanding genetics. I'm going to go through all 3, and you're going to understand all 3, no problem. But what I want to tell you is this. He did all of that without ever knowing about mitosis or meiosis. He didn't even know there were chromosomes. He didn't know what the sperm and the egg sent, like what we understand. His background into this is that traits were blending, that you are a blending of your 2 parents. People didn't really understand how it happened, but you are a blending of your parents. He did not know about individual alleles or individual chromosomes. He didn't know about independent assortment. He didn't know any of that. In fact, he knew that you got 2 things from your parents, one from one parent, one from another parent. He called them factors. And that's what you'll see in your notes sometimes where it comes up as factors. A contemporary, somebody who came up with a really good mechanism for evolution. Who is that? Darwin. What did he come up with? No, not the theory of evolution. Natural selection. Yeah, he came up with a mechanism to understand evolution. Evolution has changed over time. His grandfather started talking about evolution. Erasmus Darwin started talking. Nobody had a mechanism that was good. A man named Lamarck had a mechanism. It wasn't a good one. So he came up with a really good mechanism, but part of that mechanism hinges on the idea that there's variety among species. Meaning, how many of you have a brother or sister? How similar or different are you from your brother and sister? A little bit the same, a little bit different. Tell your bio buddy, do you have any traits that you can clearly see are like your mother or like your father or like an uncle or a grandma? Tell him.
My sister has red hair. My brother and sister are brown hair and brown eyes. My mom's brown hair, my dad's bald, but has blue eyes. But did have long hair.
Okay, now, come back to me. So, all Darwin's theory or natural selection, what he was basing that on is that when there are offspring, that there's variety among those offspring, and some of those offspring are better to the environment? Better adapted, suited to the environment. And those are the ones that survive and reproduce, and you have vast amounts of time. That's what Darwin would say. He did not know biologically why there was variety among the offspring. Had he been able to talk to Mendel, it would have been amazing if he had an understanding of that. But there was no internet. There's no way really to get that paper disseminated. They didn't live near each other. And so Mendel died. And it wasn't until about 30 years after his death that his papers were rediscovered, and people were like, oh my gosh. And there is usually not a lecture that starts anywhere on genetics that doesn't start off by referring to Mendel and his contributions. Okay, so let's take a look at what he studied. He studied pea plants, and there was a reason why he studied pea plants. Probably they were already in the garden that they had at the monastery. But also there were some other reasons why pea plants were good. What does it say in your notes why pea plants were good? They were easy to what? Cultivate. Easy to cultivate, which means they're easy to grow. What else does it say?
Short generation.
Cross-pollinated and short generation spans. So short generation spans means you could make them pretty rapidly. You could grow them up. Cross-pollinate means These are flowers. I don't know if their flowers are perfect. I think they might be perfect flowers. So they have both male and female parts to their flower. So as a result, you can take flower A and fertilize flower B with pollen, and take flower B and use its pollen to fertilize flower A. It's like they're hermaphrodites having babies. And you can look at their offspring and study them. Okay? So that's why he used pea plants. And what he found is he would take pea plants that were true breeding for certain traits. And how many different traits did he study? It's right there in your notes. 22. Okay? So he would take, when they're true breeding, what that means is he would take a tall pea plant, and its offspring were tall, and its offspring were tall, and its offspring were tall. So it's like perpetual tallness. They would take a short plant that was true breeding, that was short, 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 short. And he would take this tall plant, true breeding tall, and a true breeding short. That would be the parent generation. Cross-pollinate, and the offspring, which are called the F1s. I think it's first filial, but you just F1. The kids, the kids were all what? Were they tall, short, or medium? They were tall. Okay? So you know one of the parents gave tallness, one of the parents gave what? Shortness, but they still turned up tall. That's what you mean when you say tall is dominant over short. Okay? Tall overrides short. Brown hair overrides blonde hair. Okay? And brown eyes override blue eyes. Okay? So we'll talk more about that in a minute, how that plays out in humans. It's simpler here with the pea plants, so we're going to start with them. So he would look at these various traits, tall versus short, round versus wrinkled, and tall and round peas were dominant over shrivelly, wrinkly peas. And look at this, yellow peas over green. Now what kind of peas do we eat? Green. We eat green. But yellow peas are dominant over green. Just because a trait is dominant doesn't mean it's the most prevalent. Okay, we probably have talked about this before, but how many fingers do you have? 5. That's a recessive trait. The dominant, the dominant trait is 6 fingers. My name is Montego Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Movie?
Yes,
Princess Bride. Okay, your band teacher, who is your band teacher? He is a 6-fingered man. I know because I have seen his baby pictures from his mom. He had surgery to remove his 6th finger. Okay? So that's usually what people do. Is it as functional as a full 6? No. There is like a little withered finger off the side. You can move it, okay, but it's not like you'd be really good on an instrument or something. Okay? But people, sometimes it comes off here, off the pinky. I've seen pictures where it's like a little nubbin off the thumb, you know? And that is a dominant trait over 5 fingers, which is recessive. But the recessive trait is more prevalent in our society. But if you married, if Mr. Borges gets married, and he marries a 5-fingered woman, what are the odds that they could have a 6-fingered child? Do you have any ideas? What do you think?
We're doing a math.
Okay, so if he is you know he has the dominant trait, right? Let's say his other allele is not 6-fingered. Let's say just one of his parents was 6-fingered. What are the odds that both his parents were 6-fingered? Probably not, okay? Well, let's just say he has one allele that is 6-finger and one allele that is 5-finger. His wife, let's say, has 2 5-finger ones. The only thing she's ever going to give is what? 5 fingers. Half the time he could give the 6-fingered allele. Half the time he could give the 5-fingered allele. So he has a 50-50 chance that his child will have 6 fingers. At minimum, he has a 50-50 chance. Okay, at minimum. If he has 2 alleles for 6 fingers, then all of his children will have what? 6 fingers. Okay, questions? Ask your bio buddy, Shadowlands or Sunshine?
Because if you're
Okay, now,
brown hair,
clarifying questions with me? Okay, let's keep going. So, let's go back to Mendel. Mendel crossed true breeding tall, true breeding short, all the F1s, all the children were what? Tall. Then he took the children, the F1s, and he had the children interbreed with each other. It's not gross because they're plants, okay? So they had the F1s all interbreeding. Their offspring are not the F1s, they are the F2s. And they're like the what to the original Pea Plants? Grandchildren. Yeah, they're like the grandchildren. Parent, F1s would be the children's reproduce. Their children would be the grandchildren or F2s. You're with me on that? Okay, so when he crossed the F1s together, lo and behold, the short trait popped back up. Just like, where did this come from? I was crossing tall plants and all of a sudden I have shortness. Okay, so that's what helped him, besides dominant over recessive, is this idea, the second principle, which is the law of segregation. You know, because you understand mitosis and meiosis, you know that those F1s had one allele that was tall and one allele that was short. What happened during the S stage of interphase? They replicated, right? So now it's like this. So these two would both be tall and these two would both be short. Okay? Now we're at metaphase 1. Now we're at anaphase 1. What goes away from each other in anaphase 1? The homologous pairs. These both say tall. These both say what? Short. They are getting segregated. This is the law of segregation. Tallness was separated from shortness. Then in anaphase 2, these sister chromatids separated and these sister chromatids separated. So as a parent, you could either give the tall gene or the short gene, but not both. So when those F1s were interbreeding, each time one of the parent could have given big T or little t, and the other parent could have given big T or little t. That's the law of segregation, that you separate out the homologous pairs. That is his second principle. So what he saw, take a look up here, when he crossed round versus, okay, my bad. Let's try again. See if I can make it straight. Okay, so when he crossed round peas and wrinkled peas, do you remember what I said? What was dominant, round or wrinkled? Round. They were, all the F1s were round. But then when he took those round F1s and crossed them, then this is what he got. 5,474, and yes, he counted those all up, to 1,850. When he crossed yellow peas and green peas, true breeding yellows and true breeding green, the F1s were all what? Yellow. When he crossed the yellows with each other, then he had 6,022 yellow and 2,001 greens. If I was going to take this second one right here, this one, and simplify it, how could I simplify that? Instead of, oh, I wanted a small number, I heard it somewhere. 3 to 1. 3 to 1, exactly. So we got 3 of the dominant trait to every 1 of the recessive trait. And he saw that pattern again and again and again and was trying to understand it. Okay, and he did that again here. You can see some of the, no. Here, all of the other ones, and if you look at his, when he did his statistics, they would always come out 3 to 1, 3 to 1, 3 to 1, 3 to 1. And what helps us understand that is if we look here at this picture. Here's our tall plant. Here's our short plant. We know the tall plant was a true breeding tall. So right here, they were big T and they were big T. It's homologous pair. This short plant, on the same whatever chromosome number this is, let's say it's chromosome 12, they didn't have 2 talls. What did they have?
2 shorts.
2 shorts. To represent that, we take the tall allele letter that we've given it and we make it not uppercase but lowercase. So during the S stage of interphase, replication, these still have to be tall, these still have to be tall. Same thing over here. And in anaphase 1, the little t's would be, and then anaphase 2, it doesn't matter. Every single time, this plant right here is always going to produce what? What is it always going to produce? Little t's, right? And this plant, every single time, is always going to produce what? Big t's. And so that's why the genotype, okay, the actual alleles are called the genotype. That's why the genotype are big T, little t for every offspring, and every offspring is tall. Was there any chance of making short offspring when we had those types of parents? No. What's the only way you could get short?
Short and short.
Two little t's. Could this parent give a little t? No. So there was no chance of any short offspring. Then he took these and he crossed them with each other. Each one could either give a big T or a little t. And that's why you do Punnett squares. You're doing Punnett squares to predict what could the offspring be. It doesn't mean they will be that. You're just saying this is what it could be. And it depends really on what book that you're looking at. But usually the female is up on top, her possible gamete. So I'm drawing it like an egg right now. Okay? And the male over here, the sperm. Oh, sorry. This is not what plant sperm looks like. Man. Okay, go away. Go away. Go away. Okay. So, if this is the male right here, big T, little t, he could either give a big T, here's his big T option, or he could give a little t. What law says he could either give a big T or a little t? The law of segregation. What law says that if he is big T, little t, he will be tall? That's ghost children running in and out. If you are big T, little t, what law says you will be tall? Law of dominance. Okay? So for right now, don't fill in your square because I want to talk to you about the way I want you to fill it in just in our learning time. Just set it up like this. Need a ruler. You know where rulers are, OCDs, if you need a ruler.
I have one.
I know some of you feel uncomfortable.
I keep one with me.
There are also rulers in the back. There you go.
I don't think I made it big enough.
How big would you like it?
Oh, I would not, okay, listen, you're not in kindergarten, so don't be like Punnett square, okay? It can be smaller, right? Because you're going to add to this and put several practice problems on this. It's a little study guide for you for your quiz and your test.
I'm just going to put it.
Okay, OCDs, don't take too long making that Punnett square. I understand. The struggle is real.
Oh, it's all whatever. Oh, no, it's not even.
That's what I'm
Okay, now, take a look up here. Can I get eyes up front just for a minute? This sperm could fertilize this egg. Do you agree?
Yes.
Or, okay, this sperm could fertilize this egg. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes. So what our the inside of our Punnett square is possible offspring. So you might want to put that, somewhere here. These are possible zygotes. This doesn't mean this is what we'll get. These are just possibilities. Okay, and I want to start differentiating between genotype and phenotype. Genotypes are the actual alleles that you get. In this case, the genotype, if this sperm fertilizes this egg, your genotype is going to be big T, big T. But down here, if this sperm fertilizes this egg, then it's going to be big T, little t. Usually, you can just put the capital letter before the lowercase letter. Okay, even though, I understand, but you can just do it this way. Now, let's take a look at the phenotypes. If you have this genotype, big T, you're going to be what in the way you appear, the way it plays out? You will be what? You will be tall. Okay? If this sperm fertilizes this egg, you will still be what? Tall. So genotypes are what your actual alleles are, and phenotypes are how that plays out, how it appears or the results. Can you taste it? Can you not taste it? Can you see it? Can you not see it? Are you round? Are you wrinkled? Okay, those are phenotypes. So you finish your other two squares. When you're done, this is the habit I want you to get with all of our genetics problems. If you finish, give a double tap on your bio buddy's desk somewhere, not annoying, not in their eyeballs, okay? When they're done, they'll turn to you and then you discuss. That way you always can think independently, okay? Go ahead.
Are we going to be having a lot of squares? Just wait. Kind of like trying to draw squares.
Little.
I didn't know what the word was.
That's his tail. He wrote tail. Why didn't you just copy what she wrote on the board?
Because I thought I knew how to spell tall.
Okay, come back to me. Sounds like you're all done. Tell me what I need to put. Help me fill in real quick. Go.
Big T, little T. Tall.
Tall.
Excellent.
Little T, little T.
Little T, little T.
Short.
Short.
Short. Perfect. Okay. Now, the next step of a Punnett square is you want to tell ratios. And when you give me your ratios, do not give any naked numbers. Okay? No numbers that stand alone. So when we talk about genotype, first of all, decide how many different genotypes are represented here, and do it with your fingers and cover it up with your hand. Okay? Show your bio buddy. 3. 3.
The same.
Did you get 3?
I changed my answer.
Okay. So there's big T, then there's a big T, little t combination, and then there's what? Little t, little t. So the way you write the ratio, you do it from most dominant to least. I would start off with 1 big T. Then what one would I write next?
2 big T, little t.
Perfect. And?
3 little t.
Not 3. 1 little t. I only have 1 of those. I have 2 of these, and I have 1 of these. Now apply that same principle to how you're going to do phenotype ratios, no naked numbers. Do it first, then double tap and check with your bio buddy. And then you can always correct it if you need to.
Well,
Sorry. Well, what'd you do?
I didn't finish it, so I don't know.
Do not take away the opportunity for them to think.
Think quickly.
My big Mendelian brain is so big that I think it's out there.
I don't want to mess up. I'm going to have to wait. These cheese are
Okay. What? I don't know what you're talking about. I want to hear. Okay. What'd you put for phenotype ratio? Tell me. You are so wonderfully perfect.
Not tail.
Now, I need you to ask your Bobbin and listen to me. Having done this for 28 years, okay, I'm going to tell you, some people catch on to this and they're like wanting to stab themselves in the eyes because it's so slow and they totally get it and they want to move on and they just want to punch themselves, okay? I understand. But I'm going to tell you, I also have children who don't get it occasionally and they feel bad because it's like they see everybody else just going, done, and they're like, okay, I don't want them to feel like smiling poo. So can you nicely, without making them feel like smiling poo, gently ask them, sunshine, shadowlands, can I come alongside and help you in any way? Everybody talk, make sure they're okay. Go ahead.
Sunshine land or shadow? Wait, what is it? Sunshine?
I love it. I'm
Feel what?
Yeah. How are you? Are you chilling?
I've never even talked to her.
And I guess I know sometimes.
Mr. Hicks. Yeah, Miss
Now
Kellen
come
taught
back
me
to
seventh
me.
grade.
Mr. Anderson.
I know.
Come back to me.
I figured that.
If these peas were people, okay, we're gonna pretend like they're people, and they got married, and they had these pea children, and let's say the first child turned out to be short, does that mean the next three will be tall? No. Yes, independent events. Nice wording. Okay? Chance has no memory. Every single time there's odds, 3 will be tall, 3 to 1, 1 in 4 chance, 25% that you will be short, and a 75% chance that you will be tall. Now, it is not that way for people. Height is a polygenic trait for us. There are multiple genes alluding to that. So it's not like you're tall or short. Or like intelligence. It's not like you're big S, super smart, little s, super stupid. It's not like that, okay? Big S, semi-smart. It doesn't work like that. We have, for us, when we say intelligence, if you look here, there's just T's giving the traits, right? But intelligence, we are a polygenic. Poly means many, genic means genes. So you have things like T's and R's and Q's and L's and P's all working together for one cohesive trait of intelligence. Got that? Okay. Now, this is straight up dominance. There are exceptions to the rule. Let me give you one in human terms that's an exception to the rule, and this is called incomplete dominance. This would be if somebody who has straight hair, you know what I mean, like stick straight hair, truly, not through product, okay? And somebody who has curly hair, not through product, okay? And they have an offspring, one will give the straight, that's an H1, one will give the curly, which is an H2. They will be an H1, H2 combo. They will have what kind of hair? Wavy. May not be super wavy, okay, but it'll have some wave in it. For instance, when my hair dries, now this, I just had keratin treatment yesterday, so it makes it straight, okay? So this is a lot, along with my color, okay? This is where there is something in the environment determining my phenotype. Because my genes will say, auburn brown hair with gray coming in at the roots and the track of it, okay? That's what my genes say right now. But did my genes always say gray hair? No, when I was younger it didn't. But as I age, now the gray is coming in and it's changing. My genes and how that plays out, my phenotype, it's changing. So I go and spend money, and a woman named Summer, her real name, puts product on. That's an extrinsic factor, very expensive extrinsic factor, and she puts different colors in for me now. This can happen with alligator babies. Alligator babies will be either male or female depending on the temperature of the nest. Okay? So we're not like that. It's not like, everybody born, in South America is male, right? It's not like that for us, okay? But for alligators it is. Extrinsic environment, you're having an effect. It's like almost like an epigenetic, above your genes having an effect on your phenotype. Now, true curly with true stick straight has wavy haired children. Now, could two curlies have a stick straight?
Yeah.
No. Now, could they have a wavy child? Yes, they could. Could two stick straight, and I mean stick straight. Okay? Those people, you know who they are. It's like literally, their hair is wet, and it dries completely straight down.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not like you see a lot of those people where it is stick straight. But two stick straights, could they have a curly haired child?
Yeah.
They couldn't. Okay? This is an example, and I'll show you how that plays out. This is called incomplete dominance. This is where curly or stick straight is not completely dominant over the other. Another exception to the rule is codominance. Codominance would be this. black bunny has sex with a white bunny, okay? They make a movie about it. No. And then the offspring, some of the hairs are black and some of the hairs are white. That's codominant. And that's AB blood is codominance. Incomplete dominance would be what? Discuss with your bio buddy. Incomplete dominance. Take your hair example I gave you.
So I think it was
There may be other factors.
Codominant. So like if you have two brown hairs.
Okay? Now come back to me. Come back to me. So, incomplete dominance would be black bunny has sex with white bunny and all the baby bunnies are gray. Perfect. Now, I'm going to tell you there are modifier genes that can also impact, right? And when you look at beagle spots, are all beagles exactly the same? No, their spots are all different because there's modifier genes that play it out. Are all blue-eyed people exactly the same? No. Modifier genes can throw on some other pigments or outlines or things like that that can impact it as well. Yes?
Like, if someone has really wavy hair, someone has really curly hair because they're baby of straight hair, like...
If it depends on their genes. If they're truly just wavy wavies, it's possible to have a stick straight. If it's wavy wavy. Yeah. Now, we'll go into all of that, okay? Into all of that. I want to start out, though, but I would like, please, Blue, could you please explain the law of dominance using this? Go ahead.
So law of dominance means that if you have a dominant trait, the dominant trait is present. It's going to be inherited, which means that even if you have a big Y,
Okay, never mind. How well do you guys comprehend? Okay, can you use hands? Yeah. So I'm going to take a tube and give just one paper to every single person, but sanitize your hands first. Okay? All right. Now, law of dominance, okay? Big Y is dominant over what? Little y, okay? Now, I would like Slate, you please explain the law of segregation using this diagram. Go ahead. Okay, wait 1 second.
I can't
Okay, how do you feel about that? Are you okay? All right, now I have notes on that I'm going to give you in just 1 second. I want to tell you, two of your classmates are going to hand you one rectangle white piece of paper, which is small and easy to lose. It's something that's eventually, part of it's going to end up in your mouth. So I don't want you to set it on your desk because desks are gross, okay? Laptops, people's hands from all my different classes are on it, so gross. Don't set it on that, right? Put it maybe on your paper that you're working on right now, okay? And just set it there. You don't need to hold it, touch it, do anything with it. I just want to distribute it right now, and you just rest it, okay? And they'll go around and hand you one piece of that while I'm talking to you. Okay, let's go into our group share notes and go to, have I given you anything?
No.
Okay, so we have background on Mendel, Austrian monk, studied math and science. 2 was known as the father of genetics. Perfect. He used garden peas. Make sure to give one to Ghost Child. Oh, he left. Oh, he's back. Okay. He used garden peas. We talked about why he used them, true breeding varieties. Go down to monohybrid cross. The generations, the parent generation was tall versus what? Short. The offspring, the F1 of a tall, short cross was what? All tall. All tall. Good. The second generation offspring, F2, a cross between the F1s, what did they get? What was the phenotype ratio? 3 tall to 1 short. Good. Write that down in your notes. 3 tall to 1 short. The law of dominance says one trait or factor can be dominant over another. Now, have I already given you exceptions to that rule? Yes. We'll talk about those exceptions later. This is the significance of why it's so awesome that Mendel picked peas. They had so many true breeding traits. There was no wavy in the middle of curly and straight. So it made it easy for him. I'm not saying it was easy, but he didn't have that confusing or muddying the waters. So for example, you could put down, for example, tall plants are dominant over short plants. Okay, law of segregation. In summary, did all those guys look? They're good too, and you guys have one? Okay, perfect. Thanks so much. In summary, each individual has how many factors or alleles for a trait? 2. Are there exceptions to that rule? Does anybody not have 2 factors? About half of you in this room. You know who?
Boys versus
Boys. Girls, your 23rd pair is X and X. Same. There could be, they're still a homologous pair, same size, same shape, and code for the same characteristics, but they could have different, different items on here. Males, however, though, are XY. So whatever X they have is the X they express. They don't have another one. So let's talk about something about that. Who's more likely to be colorblind? Boys or girls? Boys. Okay, now there are autosomal colorblindness where it's on other chromosomes, but then there's some blue-green that's on the X. Okay, so they get one shot at their X. If that X says colorblind, that is what they are. If it happens to be this bad X. But a girl could have a good X and a bad X, and as long as she has one good copy, she's safe. Right? Ask your bio buddies, shadowlands or sunshine, and life isn't fair. Go.
Is this X and Y? You do this.
No, they're not actually.
All right. So now, on your notes, let's revisit that summary. Okay? It says each individual has how many factors? 2 factors for each trait. And that, there's exceptions to that. The factors segregate or separate during the formation of gametes. Each gamete contains only 1. Good. 1 factor from each pair of factors. Fertilization gives or restores each new individual 2 factors on homologous pairs for each trait. Fertilization gives or restores each new individual 2 factors on homologous pairs for each trait. Okay, blue, talk about the law of segregation using this. Go ahead, blue. So if this is big T and this is little t and we're doubled sister chromatids, anaphase 1 is going to separate the big T's from the little t's. That's the law of segregation. Where we have rules to the exceptions to the law of dominance, we don't have exceptions to the law of segregation. If segregation doesn't happen either in anaphase 1 or anaphase 2, that causes problems. Okay? Down syndrome is trisomy 21. Failure to separate, so you ended up getting 2 copies of the 21st chromosome in one of your gametes. Failure to separate is called non-disjunction. So, can it happen? Sure. is it usually happen where there's a positive, not that there's not wonderful children, okay, that are not saying that, okay? But developmentally, that impacts them because they have 3 copies of what's called the GART gene. And so that can influence their development and mental capacity, processing skills, okay? So blue, you just explained it for the law of segregation using this diagram. Slate, you explain the law of segregation using this diagram. Go ahead.
Okay, so you have to read. Whoa. Oh. Whenever you have a big G, it's always going to be green. But then when you have 2 little G's, it's not. I asked her.
Well, look. Oh, that's yellow.
Okay? So you know this parent, right, was big G, little g, and some of their gametes got the big G and some of their gametes got the little g. You didn't have 2 G's going into the gamete. That's the law of segregation. That this individual, the shell around the P, this individual right here, that he is green, the shell around the P, that's called the law of dominance. That this is the only individual with the P pod that's light in color. Look up here, I'm asking you to apply. That this is the only one that's light in color. This is still the law of dominance. Because the only time you express this light P pod is if you don't have a big G present, right? So this is still the law of dominance. This is the law of dominance. This is the law of dominance. That this individual will give single big G's in all of its gametes is the law of segregation. That this one will either give a big G or a little g is still the law of segregation because these G's will separate. Ask your bio buddy, Shadowlands or Sunshine? Remember, loving, no smiling poo feelings. Clarifying questions you need to ask me. Okay, let's go to this one. What Mendel called factors, we call alleles, alternative forms of a trait. Okay? What's going to happen during the S stage of interphase? Yes, and you're going to have a sister chromatid here, and you're going to have a sister chromatid here. And whatever is on this one will be on this one. Yes? And anaphase 1, we're going to separate big G's from little g's, yes? But now think this through. These alleles are all on the same chromosome. So wherever big G goes, so too does big R and big S and little t. They are linked genes. They will travel together. What's the only thing that can break up their traveling? Crossing over. Okay? Apply that. If this crosses over right here, if they exchange, then you'll have a big G, big R, big S, and a big T. Otherwise, you'll have a little t. Crossing over, that's why we say it gives variety to the offspring because it breaks up linked genes. Hair color and eye color are on the same chromosome. That's why dark-haired people have usually dark eyes because of where they developed from and what color of hair and how you relate to the sun, etc. And light-colored hair people tend to have light eyes. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Okay? Brown hair, brown eyes. You tend to see that, right? And so some of you are a result of crossing over. So some of you, McKatie, has dark hair and blue eyes in her ancestral past. They crossed over. I'm supposed to have dark hair and blue eyes. Okay? But it didn't happen to my generation because my mom had also dark hair and blue eyes, and my Grammy had dark hair and blue eyes. I don't know where it happened, but it happened somewhere back there. Crossing over occurred. Now, see if you can understand this, which I think you can. If I have another pair of chromosomes, and let's say here we have Q's and W's and Z's. Okay, could I get big, could I get big G with big W? Yeah, they're on different chromosomes. But could I also get big G with little w? Yes, because in metaphase 1, they line up independent of each other, independent what? Assortment. So I could get a big G with a big W, or I could get a big G with a little w. Because they're not on the same chromosome. Okay, turn towards your bio buddy, oldest bio buddy, in all your wisdom, explain all the different little things you've reviewed or learned on this slide. Go.
So like, or they're all if it does,
Okay, so alleles are defined as alternate forms of a gene. Alternate forms of a gene that occur at the same gene locus, a specific location on homologous chromosomes. Alternate forms of a gene. A dominant allele will mask a recessive allele. Now, youngest bio buddy, in all your wisdom, explain this slide right here. Go ahead, youngest bio buddy.
So basically,
Okay, so dominant takes and for blue eyes and brown eyes, he has blue eyes.
Could two blue-eyed people have a brown-eyed child?
Yeah.
Wait, what'd you say? Wait, what'd you say? I missed it.
Could two blue-eyed people have a brown-eyed child?
No.
No. Because if one is blue-blue, the only way to be blue is recessive-recessive, right?
Yeah.
And the other one is blue-blue, then all they have to give is blue. Conversely, could two brown-eyed people have a blue-eyed child?
Yes.
Yes. Because they could each be carriers for the what?
The
blue-eyed trait. Now, could you have one eye be one color and one eye be another color? Yes. That's Mutant Ninja Turtle, though. Okay? Have you ever seen somebody who has like brown hair and then they have like a strip of blonde that's not? It's not that it's been done in the salon, but it's just grows out a different color. That would be kind of what's going on in the eye. Okay? Yes.
Okay, so let's say you have like one of the parents has
This is my true story. This happened last class. Go ahead. Say again.
brown eyes, and then the other one has blue. Can the child still have blue?
Let's do it. Okay? Let's do that right now. Okay? Okay. So you said one had brown eyes, brown, and you cross this with somebody who has blue. Am I writing out genotypes or phenotypes right now?
Genotype.
What am I writing out? Phenotypes is the way it what? Appears. So these are phenotypes. Now let's give potential genotypes.
BB.
This one could be what?
Big
B,
B,
big B,
or big B, little
or big B, little b. Either way, they're brown. This one would have to be little b. Let's do a Punnett square. Okay? If we do a Punnett square, okay, and this one right here, I'm little b, right? And this one could be big B or big B, little b. Some of you are starting to see the Punnett. You can smell the Punnett. You don't even have to do the Punnett because you know what it is. Okay? If it is big B, then everybody's going to be this. And everybody will have what? Brown eyes. But if it's big B, little b, then it's going to be Big B, little b, big
Little
B,
b,
little
little
b,
b.
and little b, little b, little b, little b, right?
Yeah.
And about half the offspring would have blue eyes. Does that mean it's gonna that's the way it's gonna be? No, it's just we're predicting. This is Vegas, baby. We're making predictions. Okay, wait. If these are the parents,
No, brown.
No, you said blue.
No, blue.
if look in the green. Look, stop. Look at the green to the right. If those are the parents, will they for sure have a blue-eyed child? No. They could have 3 children, and all their children could have what? Brown eyes. Okay? Chance has no memory. Every single time they have special hugs and make a baby, okay? There is a 50-50 chance that the heterozygote one, the big B, little b, is either going to give the big B or a little b. It's not like the sperm go, oh wait, I can't swim this time, okay? They're making that same type of sperm, and half of them have the big B in them, and half of them have the little b in them. Because chance has no memory. Okay? Yes?
How come not all traits are shown?
Okay, so some traits mature. So for instance, that's a great question. A lot of babies are born with blue eyes, but then as they mature, their eyes turn brown or green or some other color. That has to do with maturity and producing that pigment. Similarly to, I didn't always have gray hair coming in. That came later, so it changes over time. Some babies can be born with actually brown hair and end up being blonde pretty much. Some people born blonde end up being brown, or it changes in the summertime. But that would be like what I pay money for, the sun does naturally to their hair. Right? Either way, it's an extrinsic factor outside of their genes. Literally outside of their genes. Okay, now, let's go back to this.
What's BG? Hazel.
Phenotype, genotype. When you discuss genotypes, you can discuss a genotype without saying big and little. You can say homozygous dominant, homozygous. Homo means same, homozygote dominance. What would that be in B-ness? Big B. I could say heterozygote, and I don't need to say dominant or recessive after it. What would that be? Big B, little b. Or I could say what? Homozygous recessive. Homozygous recessive, and that would be what? Little b. Perfect. Let's upgrade our notes. Okay. So, on genotype, homozygous, both alleles are the same. Both alleles are the same. And give an example, like big T, little t, big B, whatever. Give a couple examples. For heterozygous, what would it be? Different alleles. It doesn't mean, listen to me, it's not Q and R, and that's what makes it different. What's the difference?
Big B, little b.
Uppercase and lowercase. Okay, not 2 different letters entirely. Yes? I know, I can tell. Is this the same for all? Yes. Yes. I'm glad she said that. Do you hear what she said? Because that's smart. Is this the same for all eukaryotic organisms? Because eukaryotic organisms have linear chromosomes. Prokaryotic cells have a single what? Circular. They're not diploid. Eukaryotic cells are diploid.
So they just clone instead of
They just what?
prokaryotic cells just clone.
Well, do you remember when we study bacteria, how they can have sex through conjugation in the sex pilus?
Yeah.
So they can get still recombination of traits by having sex with each other. That's the only way they get their variety and mutations, but not through genetic recombination. Okay. All right. So, and transduction, when a virus acts as a vector to bring it from bacteria 1 to bacteria 2. Just in it. Make sure I cover everything. Okay, so homozygous big T, both alleles the same, heterozygous big T, little t. Phenotype is the appearance or outcome of the genotype. What? The phenotype? What do you mean? Phenotype would be right underneath. It doesn't go A, B, C, little I, and then D.
There is no
Oh, weird. You're the first class to say this. This is the third time I've given this lecture. Okay, so A is defined, B is a dominant allele, C is genotype, then it should be little I, and then little I, and then D is phenotype.
Oh, we don't have to.
Weird. Phenotype is the appearance or outcome of the genotype. Now, usually people just say the appearance of the genotype, but let me tell you, it can be confusing sometimes because something like tasting and not tasting, it's not an attribute that you see on somebody, so that's why I say outcome. It's the appearance or outcome of the genotype. Like tall, short, round, wrinkled, taste, don't taste. Okay, and now, my friends, turn towards your bio buddy and clicker me this.
Clicker, you then.
What's the
Oh, mine shut off.
Oh, here, I gotta turn you on first. Hang on.
Can we do something fun?
No, we're just gonna do this.
Oh,
Because that's what I have open.
I don't know. Is it our names?
Yeah. Say my name, say my name.
it's your ID?
ID.
Oh, but no, we can see the number.
You're yourself.
What?
So turn towards your bio buddy
Oh, we're doing it.
and figure out what you are.
What do I have? What do I have? I don't have any.
Oh, we're supposed to do this.
You have a little.
It's a little one.
Even if you have a little one, click it in. Even if you have a little one. Yes.
How does like a third party come into play? Like if your parents have brown and like
Say that again.
like how can you get that different color eyes like both?
A color different than your parents?
Yeah.
Modifier gene. Another set of genes. Here we go. Click it in, click it in, click it in.
That's like mine.
Cherry bomb, strawberry bomb.
No, it's like orange.
Orange is a rare.
Well, I mean, it's called.
David.
His clicker turned off.
Okay, now look at that.
Oh no.
Which trait is dominant? Do you know? Widow's peak is dominant over straight hairline. So, is widow's peak most prevalent in this room? No, widow's peak is only 45%. Okay, but it's the dominant trait. So remember, just because a trait is dominant, okay, doesn't mean it's the most prevalent. Okay. Now, next thing I want you to do, okay, is take that yummy little peppermint tasting paper, okay, and just hold it in your hand for a minute. And what I would like you to do is either break it in half, so you have half for your parents, your siblings, or you could either do 2/3, 1/3. You just need about 1/3 of that paper.
Just rip it.
That's okay, then just keep it. Just take one of them and rip off like 1/3 or half of it. Okay, hold it in your hand, don't do anything with it yet. You got your 1/3 or your half, 1/3 of your half, however you ripped it. Got it in your hand? Okay? If you have to, just set the other one aside. It's okay. Take that 1/3, you got it? And on the count of 3, this is what you're going to do. You're going to put it right on the middle of your tongue, you're going to rub it around. But we're doing it all at the same time. Got it? Everybody got it? Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. How's it taste?
It like hurts my jaw. It tastes like the Novocaine that's like for the dentist.
I don't know.
Take it out.
I don't have an answer.
It's sour.
It doesn't taste.
What is the name?
It works. It's worse once you take
clenched
it
my
out.
jaw.
It is worse once you take it out. Get some drink.
There's so much confusion going on.
It tastes so bad. It didn't taste at all.
I like
It's an aftertaste.
Okay.
And now it hurts.
It might Mine didn't taste gross.
All right, get into your lunch if you need to and get a different flavor, okay? And answer the questions.
What do you mean it tastes weird?
Yeah, now, keep the other part. Tell your parents tastes like peppermint.
Oh, my mom's bringing
What is it supposed to like?
Okay,
What are the
look up here. I'm gonna go over that. Poison. I think I've done this multiple times. I don't do it anymore. I know what it tastes like. To me, it tastes hideous. Okay. You see, some of you it tastes nothing. To me, it's like somebody poured perfume in your mouth and you were drinking it. Sprayed perfume in your mouth. Yeah, it tastes like right. But yet for you, you were like, what? You're looking around the room. You've got somebody else next to you, almost dying. Like I watched the twins because I knew they would react the same. And you know, they tasted it slightly apart, but it was like this is the response I saw. I thought she was gonna blow chunks on the table. And so the thing is that ability to taste or not taste is in your genes. For others of you, you're like, I could see you. You're like, what's the problem? Okay? What's wrong with all of you? Okay? Yeah, when you take it out, it actually tastes worse. I agree with you. 100% agree with you. You think you're going to find relief, and you don't.
I needed to eat.
PTC paper. Not PCP.
PCP.
Yeah, we can call it safe paper. Waiting for all my answers to come in.
They're good, they're good.
Oh my god, I need another
Okay. Now, so we had about 43% of you. Cameron especially didn't like it. I was watching him. He's still thinking about it if you see his face.
Yeah, I don't like.
No, he did not like it. Okay, so some of you taste it very, very strongly. Others of you, look, tasted like paper. 37% of you are like, I think that's like, it's not like you eat paper often, so you probably don't know. Even these 18%, it probably was more like paper. You're just not used to the flavor of paper, or you might have a few receptors in there for it, so you can taste it just slightly. So riddle me this.
I'm excited to see my face.
Put that paper in a special place so you can give some to your parents.
I'm not
I need everyone to try it.
Why not? Super fun.
I am.
Sarah. All right. Oh, we got a B minus. What is big T, little t? That is a genotype. Tell me the name of that genotype.
Oh.
Heterozygous.
No, tall is the phenotype.
Oh, I thought you said. What is tasty?
That was like insane.
Come back to me. Come back to me. Jennifer.
I put it in.
Clearly not. Oh, 96%. Tasting is the outcome of the genotype. Now, to be a taster, because it's a dominant trait, you could be what? Big T. No. Well, yes. Big T, or big T, little t, because it's a dominant trait. So those of you who are super strong tasters, you are probably what? Big T. Besides overrated and annoying.
Which? Oh, those. Whoa.
Wait, what? Children of what? Oh,
Those two little right there. What are they thinking? What's the? Oh, it's. What are they thinking about?
Oh my god, we only have two.
Oh my, you're right. That was a fast class. That was a fun class.
Oh, these are the children. They're big T, little t, so they are what? Heterozygous. Perfect. Okay, this is where we're going to pick up next time. Please listen to me. I had my TA and I showed her how to measure it, so she retaped all the cords. Problem was, I said I don't want them too long because then they drag them to the other rows. But what do you think happened?
They were too long.
Yeah, so watch out for it when you put them away. Be patient with it. Lift the tape a little bit if you need to get it docked in there. Put your clickers away.
Okay, you do.
Okay, and then I'll see you on Tuesday.
That right.
Have a piece of toast or something.